This is the Dallas Morning News.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.
Hello, and welcome to Eat, Drink, DFW, the podcast from the Dallas Morning News food team. Each week, we take a look at food and drink trends in North Texas, talk about restaurants in Dallas-Fort Worth, learn some new recipes, and sometimes even get tips from you, our listeners. I'm Anna Butler, the food editor at the Dallas Morning News. Believe it or not, we're inching closer to the end of 2025, so what are we looking ahead to in the new year? We'll talk about trends in 2026, but first, we'll be catching you up on all the latest restaurant news in Dallas-Fort Worth. That's all coming up right after this.
Central Market is really into food, like fish flown in so fresh it still has jet lag into food. Our sourdough starter has been around since grunge was a thing into food. We're talking more prime cuts than a greatest hits album into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then we're the HQ for you. Whether you're a make every recipe in the cookbook foodie or a my favorite recipe is reheat type who just digs the delectable, no place makes every day more delicious like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
For the latest food and restaurant news in Dallas-Fort Worth, visit dallasnews.com/food. Today, I am joined by Sarah Blaskovich, Claire Baller, and Demelda Garcia. I want to kick off with a little celebrity news. Sarah, where did Tom Brady eat while he was in town?
The GOAT came back here to call the Dallas Cowboys Philadelphia Eagles game. And by the way, I know it was last week, but did y'all watch that game? What a game.
Hell of a game in the way that Jalen Hurts is my fantasy QB, and he really delivered, even though they lost.
Oh, that's a fun tip. What you were supposed to say was, how about them Cowboys?
I really missed that social cue.
That's okay. No, that's a fun tip, Anna. So Tom Brady ate at Albernays on Oakland Avenue in Dallas. This is the second time he's eaten there. He also came to call a game last year and tucked into the private room there with Aaron Andrews and a bunch of other people from Fox Sports. Now, a fun part of this story is that last year when he came, our beloved Albernay was still alive, and he posted really proudly on social media that basically women in the restaurant were going nuts for Tom Brady, which is like so hilarious. And so Albernay sadly died a couple of months after Tom Brady made his first appearance at the restaurant. But he was back this year. And so the GM of the restaurant and Albernay's nephew told me a little bit about this visit, which was quite similar to last year. And as it turns out, this incredibly great football player really does like the steak at one of Dallas's most famous steakhouses.
Did he order the exact same thing?
He did not eat the same thing as last year. So last year he had a cowboy cut ribeye, and this year he had the Hokkaido snow beef New York strip.
This is the place for celebrities and sports stars, right? 2 years ago, all the Texas Rangers team was there. And then Jennifer Aniston a long time ago, and John Bon Jovi also. So this is the place in Dallas.
Julie, you have your hand up. I actually met Jessica Alba at Albernay.
Oh.
Yeah, in the bathroom. We had a little conversation. She was really sweet.
The bathroom is the best place to meet anybody. I bet you guys were best friends by the end, Julie.
We were.
Yeah.
Speaking of hot spots, Claire?
There's a new spot in town that just opened, and it opened with a line around the building, which I think people familiar with this place probably wouldn't be surprised about. This is Maman, which just opened in Preston Center. And this is a cafe that is from New York, and it's been around a while. And there's locations all over the country now, but this is the first location that they have in Texas. This spot is known as an all-day French cafe, but they're really known for their nutty chocolate chip cookies. And I feel like there was a phase for a while where if you were someone going to New York, people were asking you if you were going to go get a cookie from Maman or Levan.
Maman and Levan.
And there was this like New York chocolate chip cookie craze, it seemed. The cookies are still going strong at Maman, and people were lining up for them here, along with the other foods that they offer. This is at Preston Center, and the spot that it went into was formerly occupied by Trova. That was a wine.
Ah, yeah.
Sarah, you actually wrote about that place when it closed.
Yes, and the reason it closed was fascinating. The owner said, in part, that her customers were on GLP-1 drugs and were eating and drinking less. She was also concerned about how consumers in general were drinking less alcohol. And so the closure of Trova, first of all, I thought it was a great little spot. But second of all, it was sort of surprising when it closed. But then Maman took this great little corner spot and turned it into something it sounds like that's pretty buzzy.
So far it has been. So it'll be interesting to see how reception continues. I have another bit of restaurant news for you guys. Probably most people listening are familiar with the restaurant Torchy. This is a restaurant in the Knox district here in Dallas, and it's now twice been on Michelin's recommended list in its Texas guide. That place has been interesting to watch for the past few months because the executive chef there, RJ Yoakum, left pretty abruptly in June. And then in September, a new chef took over. That was Chef Wes Witzel. And he just left that job last week. Now we know who will be taking over.
There's twists, there's turns.
There's a lot of them. So Bruno Davion, who has been with the ownership group of Torchy for some years now, will now be the permanent executive chef at Torchy.
Aha!
And this is a big deal.
That's a huge deal. He's one of Dallas's best known chefs.
That's
He is.
amazing. I was telling Claire when we found this out that bouillon was some of the best food I had had in Dallas when it had opened. And he was the executive chef, which kind of closed pretty dramatically and suddenly just right after it opened due to the pandemic.
That's right. And what Bruno has been up to has been working as the culinary director for Travis Street Hospitality, which oversees Torchy. So he's going to continue to do that, but now he's fully taking over Torchy's kitchen. And the owner of this restaurant group told me that we can expect to see Bruno likely lean into his French fine dining roots.
Said another way, Torchy will become a French restaurant, which it wasn't before.
That's what it seems like.
Wow.
And now, granted, Stéphane Corseau, the owner, told me this is totally Bruno's territory. He gets to do with it what he wants, and we will all kind of find out together what that will be. But he expects it to be leaning into French classics. What he said is that Torchy was never intended to be a fine dining restaurant.
How is that possible?
The seats are velvet.
And
The lights are low.
it always read by real estate, by clientele, and by food to me as a very high-end restaurant.
Agreed. Now, what I think is the difference here, and this is what Stéphane laid out, is that this is not a fine dining restaurant that you would see when you think of fine dining in New York, in LA, in France, certainly. It reads pretty much like a fine dining restaurant here in Dallas, but they didn't really consider it that when you're looking at the restaurant landscape elsewhere. But he said Dallas diners have wanted it to be a fine dining restaurant, and so they have leaned into that, and they will continue to. Even more so that way, I would think, with Bruno at the helm.
Claire, do you think they are thinking about Michelin for next year?
Good question, and I asked him that. Because I don't know how you couldn't when you were taking over a restaurant at a time when we know Michelin is watching them.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It really was RJ Yoakum's goal when he was executive chef there at Torchy, was to get a Michelin star. Stéphane said he does not think that that's Bruno's goal. I mean, this is a very seasoned chef who's worked in Michelin-starred kitchens and is just kind of at a different point in his career. But Stéphane said, hey, if they get that recognition, it would be great because he thinks that Bruno is worthy of it and could run a Michelin-starred kitchen here in Dallas. But it's certainly not something that they are crafting the restaurant towards.
We do have a first comment on the story that you put together on this, Claire. It's from someone named Matthew, and he said, can't think of anyone better. Good move.
That's what I think we'll probably hear more of from people in the restaurant community, that this is really exciting for anyone who's familiar with Bruno's work in the past. I think people have probably been eager to see more of him than they've been seeing with him serving that culinary director role, which again, he will continue to do. But with him at the front of Torchy, we will really be seeing Bruno's food on full display.
And those of us who liked bouillon might hope that we get a twist on bouillon or a bouillon 2.0.
Maybe they could use some of the gold leaf that they used on the exterior of that restaurant. This one.
All right, while we're on high-end restaurants, there's a new one in town in the old Lowry's. So when Lowry's Steakhouse closed on the Dallas North Tollway, it was a big deal. This restaurant had been open something like 40 years. And while it had kind of gone out of style, there were so many Dallas area people who felt something for Lowry's. And the restaurant, which is huge, has been closed for a while. And today, on Black Friday, it reopens. The restaurant is called La Stella, and there is an existing La Stella in the Dallas Arts District across the street from the Meyerson. That Italian restaurant stays, but this La Stella, the new one opening in Lowry's, will be what the owner calls the flagship. It is bigger and it is more steak focused, but certainly still has a pretty serious Italian backbone. And the owner, J.P. Piccinini, was born and raised in Italy. The restaurant has been totally redone in maroons and emerald green. It's very handsome. And for those who remember Lowry's, you walk in the front door in this huge foyer, and left is the main dining room with all these beautiful banquettes that could easily serve 6 or 8 tops, and I'm thinking a dozen courses of pasta on the table kind of thing. Or if you go to the right, there is a bar seating area with a grand piano up on a stage. And then there are 2 private dining rooms behind them, one of which is this big, long, gorgeous table with cool wallpaper behind it and big black velvet chairs that just feels like a place to throw a fabulous party. So anybody north of Dallas or, willing to make the drive to the Addison area, La Stella is thought to be kind of Addison's big deal new restaurant of the end of this year. And after a couple of visits there, I really do think they're going to do a good job of replacing Lowry's with a different concept, but that serves a similar audience. Celebratory groups of people looking to have dinner, spend a little bit of money and get dressed up. And, 'tis the season.
Speaking of fancy, we found out that there's going to be a fancy Torchy's.
Yes, there is going to be a fancy Torchy's. And the first question I had was, what's that?
I was so confused because we received a news release on a fancy Torchy's, but it included dishes on it, but the dishes were all the same as a regular Torchy's. And so I was like, Sarah, what does this mean?
Yeah, we need some capital J journalism up in here, and you better believe I asked the hard questions. And as it turns out, an upscale Torchy's Tacos has the same menu with the same prices, but it's in a new pretty building in Uptown Dallas called 23 Springs. It's going to open in 2026, so y'all gonna have to wait for your fancy Torchy's. So what makes it fancy, if none of the rest of it is fancy, is the design. So they're like upgraded fixtures, a little bit smaller footprint. And Claire, your eyes are making me think that you're thinking, what were the fixtures like to begin with at a Torchy's Tacos? Could that be part of the confusion over there?
Yes, and I don't know, are they plating the food differently?
No.
It's genuinely just the build out.
I think you can straight up order a trailer park taco.
You can.
Inside of a Torchy's in Uptown in what will be a very fabulous building that someone said, I think we need to be able to feed the analysts here.
Yeah, I truly think they picked Austin-based Torchy's because it's food that can feed people all day long. And it's a good chain restaurant, in my opinion. But they needed to jazz it a little, because it's a cool building.
Well, you know what? I guess it's great that doesn't translate to a jazzing up in price. Because I feel like read the room, that's not what we need right now. So that's cool to see that they aren't converting that over to higher prices.
Agree. And I was totally prepared for everything possibly to be the same, but $1 more. And I do believe that some brands do this, depending on what zip code they're in. Torchy's is not doing that. And you don't even have to dress up to go to this fancy Torchy's if you want. However, if you're in business attire, which I think many people will be in the middle of Uptown Dallas, nearish the Crescent and some other stuff like that, you too can have tacos in a place with great fixtures.
I feel like all they need at this fancy Torchy's are bibs for the queso drips to not get on fancy business clothes.
I think that's right. Or like the linen napkins with the hole in the corner that you can slip over the button in your button down shirt.
Is that what that's for?
I don't know. I don't wear a lot of men's button downs, but now I got to Google this.
What?
Okay, napkin. That's totally what it's for.
What? We need a class.
A buttonhole napkin.
Yes.
And then there's pictures of people, mostly men, that's just what the internet is doing, with these napkins,
I love it.
Draped.
As someone who went to manners camp a lot, I've decided
A lot.
I've decided that the reason I don't know about this is because you shouldn't be spilling on yourself in the first place.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Queso etiquette was not ever part of manners camp for the record.
And let me just put in that Torchy's green chili queso is really good.
That is one of the best quesos that is from a chain restaurant to me I'm going to go within the world.
I'll take it. I like it.
Let's close out our news with a feel-good Thanksgiving news story. Sarah, you're reporting on the Ari's Pantry location here in downtown Dallas, which has officially reopened.
Yes, and thank goodness. Ari's Pantry is a sweet Italian grocer. I learned about it first from Claire, who wrote about the one that opened in Oak Cliff in 2023. Ari is the owner, and Ari himself has opened a second in Trinity Groves, and downtown Dallas was the third. It opened in May, right as everybody left town in Dallas all summer long, and it got really hot. And during all that, a pipe burst in the historic downtown Dallas building above Ari's Pantry on the 20th floor. This had nothing to do with the grocery store. He didn't cause the pipe to burst, and it actually didn't damage his store. But hundreds of residents were displaced because their apartments were uninhabitable, and the water and electricity were cut to the grocer. And then they put up scaffolding because they were trying to save the building. And so even if he could be open, it definitely looked like he was closed. And so Ari's Pantry closed temporarily for 6 weeks. And I wondered or worried whether it would reopen at all, given the restaurant climate and just that, man, it's hard to be closed for 6 weeks in a central business district and then come back and say, hey, we're back. So I met with Ari in the shop the day after he had reopened. And first of all, he's a great interview. He's a passionate small business owner. And Claire, you had kind of felt that from him, I'm sure. But second of all, he was really clawing his way back in a tough time. And what I felt from him was deep love for owning this store, which sells, every little adorable grocery store item you could think of. Pasta and tinned fish and olive oils and vinegars. There's a produce section. And then, of course, the heartbeat of the store is all the prepared pastas, sandwiches, homemade tiramisu, all the Italian specialties that you can buy in that store without having to cook. And, a lot of the people who lived upstairs from this shop were his customers. How wonderful would it be to go downstairs and get dinner? Well, none of those people live there anymore. Spending a little time with Ari was just really nice to talk to a small business owner who cares a lot about what he does. And he had so much passion for bringing this place back. One of the reasons why it's so important to him is it's his biggest store. And he's like, this one was my break. This of the three, the downtown Dallas store was the one that needed to work. And so he said, I promise you, I'm not going to let this place fail because I can't. When I spoke with him, you could just hear how emotional he was about this market.
I'm not going to let it fail. I'm not. It's a wonderful place. People come in and they love it. It's not happening.
I'm really happy to hear that he's committed to keeping that one open or doing everything he can to. One, because I think his concept is really great and it's inspired by the time that he spent, quite substantial time he spent living in Rome and frequenting markets like the one he went on to create here. But also I think it's just downtown needs that kind of place. It needs a place that can be many things to many different people. And it's always hard to see a spot like that struggle, especially for something so outside of its control. So I hope we see him stick around.
And as always, the customers have to support these kind of businesses, and remember now that we'll have tariffs on pasta, businesses like this will need more support than ever.
Imelda, something fun I did is late last week, I went into the Ari's Pantry in Trinity Groves and bought Ari's tomato sauce, which is one of the items as he walked me through the store that he was most proud of. He said, it's so good you can drink it.
Wow.
I bought a jar of this pasta sauce and some of the pasta he sold. And we had Friendsgiving last weekend and we did like a fun look under your chair, like Oprah to, see if there's like a little, and I gave away this tomato sauce and pasta to somebody who had never heard of Ari's Pantry. So trying to pay it forward a little bit for a place that I think matters.
You can read about all these things by visiting dallasnews.com/food. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're talking about today's and next year's food trends.
Central Market is really into food. Like when we say cheese, it's in 12 languages into food. Butchers, bakers, and sushi roll makers into food. We're talking so obsessive about quality you can shop blindfolded into food. Central Market is really into food. If you are too, then let us turn your shopping list into a treasure map. Get inspired, get adventurous, or just get a chef-made dinner when you've got more taste buds than time. No place makes every meal more amazing like Central Market. Really into food. Shop now at centralmarket.com.
Welcome back. In just a minute, we're getting into restaurant trends. But first, we wanted to ask you to rate and review our podcast. Leaving a good review helps other people find it. Okay, we've been pulling together restaurant trends from across the internet. I want to start with a Wall Street Journal story in which chefs tell Alina Dzik about the things they are so over. It's in a story called Caviar on Everything and Other Annoying Restaurant Trends. What do you think she feels about caviar on everything?
It doesn't need to be on everything. I think she's right.
Some of the gripes from her and then chefs were caviar on everything, inadequate carafes, statement walls, time limits on dining, edible flowers, long scripted intros to meals, and showy mocktails.
I think these are fair. I don't know if I have an issue with edible flowers, if it's the right time and place. Scripted intros, yeah. I feel like I would add beef tallow.
You're over it?
I'm fine with it. but it's now become one of those things where you see it everywhere. Like it's become like a full-blown capital T thing.
I think a lot of people were already using it and now we're like, I guess I'm supposed to say that I'm using it.
Exactly.
And now we're like, too much info.
I'm with her on the quote, inadequate carafes. A better way to say that is teeny tiny, little tiny, teeny water cups. And look, I'm not like a crazy ice person and I'm not even someone who delights in drinking a lot of water, but there's kind of nothing worse than having 3 sips and then being like, can I have more? And that poor server should not have to refill it 7 times.
It was funny because one of the chefs opined on this as well and said, I actually think it's exclusive when people only offer you still or sparkling water and don't offer you tap. And I thought that was interesting too.
Let's talk about that. There is nothing more surprising than going to a restaurant after having drank water, like lowercase W water, and then learning that you drank $25 worth of bottled water that you weren't asked about. And Dallas Tap is good enough for me, but not being asked. Like, I love it if they're like, do you want still, sparkling, or tap? That gives me the opportunity to choose tap and choose free. But not getting the opportunity and then being surprised at the end, I'm like, dudes, I would have had another glass of wine for that price if I knew that's what we were doing.
I think one of the trends that we are going to see soon, it's water sommeliers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Restaurants that are offering different kinds of water and now you are paying for it.
Well, speaking of water, one of my pet peeves is when you're asked if you want still, sparkling, or Dallas's finest. Do you hear people say that?
I do. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, the shtick is up. Like, just call it tap water. It's fine. Because it also sounds like a little demeaning to tap water to me.
Yeah.
Does it hurt your feelings?
I do feel as though, however it's asked, you are made to feel poor.
Yeah.
Like every time I say tap, I say it with conviction. I'm totally fine with this. But that they know that they're like, all right, I'm losing $25 from that table because that poor lady doesn't want to drink my fancy bubbles. And it's such an eye roll to me.
I keep going back to the long scripted intros bit because lately when I've gone to a restaurant where I can feel it coming, I tell them I've been there before and I haven't because I just don't want to do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Don't make me.
Next.
I don't need you to tell me that these are share plates and we're supposed to get 8 of them for 2 of us and it's going to be $180. We can't afford it. Just not on a regular Tuesday. Like, I mean, just like let it go. Like, I'm so sorry that I'm not going to be ushered through this experience. But here's the thing. I am not a food critic. I am not coming back to this restaurant experience or talking about it in such a way that I'm like, oh, I did what they told me not to do.
Yeah, I just want to eat.
I just want to eat.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
I'm hungry.
Well, and I don't know how y'all feel, but if I have questions on the menu, I'm like sort of delighted to ask them. Like there's no world in which it's like, gosh, I have questions, but I didn't get asked if I had any. And so I didn't bring it up. It's like I got the menu in my hand. And if I'm going between this entree or that entree, I'll ask what they think of them. And that's like a pretty simple, normal thing that people do. And the scripted bit didn't probably help me.
I've talked to fine dining servers who have done the job for a really long time. And a big part of what their job is, they've told me, is reading the table really quickly and then crafting the whole experience based on kind of the vibes that you're getting back. And so some people may get a quite lengthy script that they are clearly interested in. And then other people who body language is just, it's clear. It's like, all right, these people have been here or they're not really interested. They know what they want already. So I do think someone who's really skilled at this job, it's not a one size fits all. And you can tell pretty quickly how you should go about it. And I appreciate that.
Now there's another list of predictions from Resy. Resy is a reservation tool that a lot of us use to book restaurants. They looked back on the year and then they looked forward to 2026. That's something that we'll probably do in a couple of weeks. But I thought some of their 2026 thoughts were amusing. They think that mortadella, as in like the meat, is going to be so hot in 2026.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, Cambodian, Lao, and Hmong cuisines, they say, are going to be big. They're hot on fish dip instead of tinned fish. And they think we've hit peak pizza. There are several others on here, including a hot take that they think the next hot food city is Philadelphia. And we have a better football team as of right this second than Philadelphia does. But I can't speak too much to their dining scene.
I love the point where they talk about the regional cuisines. I think it's something that we are not only seeing in restaurants, but also in kitchens in your home. Because now with all these TikTok cooks making these regional and traditional dishes, you can do it in your home. So that's great.
I think some of the other predictions were interesting too, because they're things that we're already seeing in Dallas. And historically, we're usually playing catch up on things. So they said in 2026, tableside service was going to be big. Fish dip, we're already doing. Wine bars with great food. I can think of a handful of those. And we're also going to be opening more of those in the next year too. And then tiny martinis. If anything feels like it's taking over restaurants and people who love a happy hour, it's the tiny teeny.
Agree. Yeah, they also were hot on omakase and izakayas, and we've got plenty of that in DFW. So I think this is like a smart list of things that are happening, but maybe there's not as many hot takes from us as there were from the Wall Street Journal list.
Yeah, if anything, looking at this list, it's like, hey, we're kind of already doing these things. Like you said, Anna, one thing that's on the list that I don't think off the top of my head of any here are listening bars. Rezi says this is where vinyl cocktails and atmosphere come together. That sounds great to me, and I would love to see some of that here. And there is Lady Love Lounge, although that seems like a place you go where you want to dance and listen to vinyl and have cocktails. But it would be great to see some spots that add to that and where you can maybe just sit on the sidelines and not get out on the dance floor.
If you guys have thoughts on what you want to see more of and less of in Dallas dining in 2026, we would love to hear about it. Email us at eatdrink@dallasnews.com. That is all the time we have for today. Special thanks to our producer, Julie Fisk. For the news, I'm Anna Butler. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Eat, Drink, DFW from the Dallas Morning News is made possible by Central Market.